The first thing I saw was the back of his head, still, straight, silent in the dark. He was sitting at the kitchen table, no lights on, just the fridge hum and the pale glow from the hallway. I didn't even notice him at first. I was whispering something stupid to Brandon, my heels dangling from my fingers, laughing too loud for 3:11 a.m. We'd parked 2 blocks away, just in case. I said I didn't want to wake the neighbors. I didn't mention the camera. I kissed Brandon's cheek, thanked him for the ride, and slipped in the front door with my jacket over my arm. My eyes hadn't even adjusted to the dark when I felt it, that stillness, like walking into the wrong house, the kind of stillness that's waiting for you, not sleeping. But the chair was empty now. He wasn't there. And on the table, her coffee mug, my mug, floral rim, little chip on the base from the move 2 summers ago. Underneath it, just one sheet of paper, laser printed, sharp, a still frame, the kind you only get when you've paused something carefully. I didn't need to flip it over. It was me, walking in, laughing, jacket over the arm of a man he's never met. My head tilted just enough to know I felt safe, happy. For everyone listening right now, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It means more than you think, and most people never do. But we see you, every one of you. I don't remember sitting down, but I was in his chair a few minutes later, no lights, just me and the hum, no note, no fight, not even a question. He didn't rage, he didn't scream, he left a timestamp, and that scared me more than anything. Because I know him. He's the man who once spent 6 hours rewiring the basement after a squirrel chewed the panel just so I wouldn't miss my Zoom interview. The one who kept a backup key in a hollowed out book titled Our Plans. The one who always told me where he was going. Now there was just silence and a photograph. The clock said 3:22 when I opened the hall closet and saw the gap. His coat was gone. Both suit bags. The green duffel he only packed when we flew. That's when my stomach dropped. The bathroom drawer, empty, no razor, no watch on the tray. His cologne bottle was capped, full, untouched, too full. I walked into the bedroom. His pillow looked untouched, smoothed over, the charger on his nightstand unplugged. I reached under the bed. The lockbox was gone. It wasn't just a reaction, it was a plan. I stood there in my heels, still holding the jacket I wore to another man's car. The smell of his aftershave was still on the collar, and all I could hear was the dryer downstairs, spinning the cycle someone forgot to cancel. He hadn't yelled, he hadn't asked. He'd watched the footage, chosen a frame, printed it, and left it under a mug I'd used every day for 7 years. I stared at that image again, the angle, the stillness, the fact that he hadn't texted, hadn't called, that he'd waited until after I came home, that he let me walk inside without a single word. There was no panic in that photo, just finality. And now, the only question I had was where he was, and why, in the deepest part of me, I already knew I wasn't going to find him. The bedroom felt wrong before I even opened my eyes, the kind of silence that hums in the bones. I reached over, habit and instinct, but the sheets beside me were flat, tucked, cool, no scent, no weight. I sat up too fast, heart pounding without reason. The curtains were open a few inches, just enough for that sliver of morning gray to cut across the bed. I stared at it for a beat, then kicked off the covers and walked barefoot to the closet. The hangers scraped when I slid them apart. Half the suits were gone, his sides stripped down to one winter coat and a pair of old running shoes. I opened the drawer where he kept his cufflinks and passport. Empty. That's when the air changed, not panic, just something colder. I crossed the hall to the bathroom. His toothbrush was still in the holder, his razor wasn't. The top drawer was cleared, neatly wiped, no hair in the sink. The soap dish was dry. Kitchen, I walked faster now. There on the counter, his keys, laid flat, house, car, mailbox, fanned out like a dealer's hand in blackjack. Beside them, a flash drive. Black plastic, no brand, one label, no need to explain. I didn't touch it. In the fridge, I found a sealed container. My name in his handwriting, chicken, arugula, strawberries, goat cheese, the salad I always ask for after long days. One fork inside. He'd chilled it overnight. I stared at the bag for a full minute before I closed the fridge. My pulse wasn't fast, but it wasn't calm either. I pulled out my phone. No texts, no missed calls, no sudden explanation. I checked our shared calendar. Blank. Nothing in the week ahead. No meetings, no flight plans, no dinner with his brother next Friday. Just silence. I called him. Straight to voicemail, no ring, not even a delay. I tried again, same result. Then I opened the hall cabinet where he kept the fireproof lockbox, the small one with our joint papers, backup drives, the deed to the house. Gone. Not rifled, not forgotten. Removed. Intent lives in the empty space. I leaned against the wall, slid down to the floor, and sat with my knees to my chest. No tears. Just that dull hum of knowing I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. And he hadn't slammed a single door doing it. This wasn't flight, it wasn't drama, it was choreography. And I wasn't in the routine. I thought of the photo again. 3:11 a.m. Me grinning like I had the world in my pocket. Jacket slung over another man's arm. Heels dangling from my hand like some college girl sneaking in. And the man I came home to, he hadn't said a word. He'd packed with precision, cooked my favorite salad, left the keys, and walked out of the life I thought we still shared, like it was just another line item on his list. That's what shook me, not the emptiness. The fact that he planned for it. The phone rang twice before it kicked to voicemail. His voice, calm and brief, leave a message. I didn't. I just stared at the screen, thumb hovering, stomach tight. Then I tried again. Then again, same thing. By the sixth call, I wasn't just calling. I was pacing. I messaged, please call me. I need to talk to you. Then, where are you? Then, I'm sorry. The dots never blinked back. I opened his contact card, tapped the location link. Last ping, 3 days ago, near the grocery store. That meant nothing. Could have been staged. I called his office. Receptionist paused when I asked. He's no longer with us, she said. What? He resigned last week. Monday, I believe. I barely managed a thank you. He hadn't told me, not a word. I opened our calendar again, just to make sure. Empty. Every reminder, every note, every colored entry, gone. Not deleted, wiped like he'd never planned anything past this week. I logged into our joint account, one click, my breath caught. Balance, $0, a small withdrawal notice 3 days ago, transferred in full. I checked the statement, new account holder, different bank. I leaned over the sink, hands braced on porcelain. The silence in the house was too clean, not just quiet, cleansed, like he'd taken the dust with him. I grabbed my car keys, drove out to the cabin. The gravel road hadn't changed, the lake shimmered the same, but the gate was chained, a paper taped to the inside, private property, no trespassing. The name at the bottom, not his. He sold it. I sat in the driver's seat with my door open, 1 foot in the dust. The wind had that cold edge it gets just before fall breaks through. I didn't cry, not here, but something hollow shifted in my chest, like the echo of a slammed door 2 rooms away. Back home, I called my sister. Have you heard from him? No, why would I? No reason, I lied. He okay? She asked. I don't know, I said, because that was the truth. I checked the folder on my laptop labeled his, just to hear his voice in a saved video, see his handwriting in a scanned PDF, but the folder was empty. Every copy of every shared file we had, gone, cleaned out like the account. It wasn't rage, it wasn't revenge. He hadn't left in a storm. He left like someone who'd made peace with it a long time ago, like a man who waited for one frame, just one, to confirm what his instincts already knew. And once he saw it, he didn't argue, he acted. That's what I didn't understand until now. He didn't disappear. He removed himself, intentionally, and suddenly I was standing in the ruins of a life I thought I still had, with no map, no warning, no one left to call. I wasn't even looking for him. I'd stopped, mostly. After the second week, the messages slowed. My friends told me to let it breathe. Let him come to me, but he didn't. So I did what people do when they're pretending to move on. I scrolled, dead-eyed, thumb on autopilot. New babies, vacation reels, half-hearted memes from people I hadn't seen in years. And then, it stopped. My thumb froze mid-swipe. It was him. Posted by the official account of an upscale coastal law firm I didn't recognize. Harbor Stone and Vale, 25th Anniversary Gala. The photo was warm, expensive. Candlelight, soft piano, a splash of champagne blur in the foreground. And in the middle of it, him. Tailored charcoal suit. Tie loosened just enough to say he belonged there, not like he was playing dress-up. His hand rested on a highball glass. Smile angled toward the woman beside him. She looked mid-30s, poised, not showy, clean lines, hair swept up, quiet confidence. Her hand was on his shoulder. Her hand. No wedding ring on mine. That was the detail that made my throat tighten. He'd taken it off. Not in anger, not in pettiness. In closure. I stared at the photo for longer than I care to admit, zoomed in, looked for anything that said it wasn't real, maybe a name I'd recognize in the background, a trick of lighting, but no, he wasn't hiding, he just wasn't near me anymore. The caption was simple. Congratulations to our newest advisory partner, Grant Delaney, for an unforgettable keynote. Keynote. I clicked their profile. His face appeared again on the team page. Strategic Counsel, Infrastructure, Integrity, and Transition Architecture. He used to joke that his title at his old firm didn't mean anything. Just a name to fit on a card, he'd say. Now it looked like the card finally fit him. I shut my laptop like I'd caught something on fire. Sat still on the couch, heartbeat in my throat. I hadn't cried in days. It didn't start now. But something cracked, not from loss, from understanding. He hadn't broken down after I left him that night, standing in silence beside a coffee mug and a photo. He'd stepped out of the wreckage and started rebuilding without telling me, without waiting to be forgiven. I used to think he'd always circle back. Even if we argued, he'd cool off, sleep it off, talk it out. I was wrong. He wasn't circling, he was gone. And somewhere on a lit-up coast, he was laughing quietly beside a woman whose name I didn't even know, whose fingers now rested where mine used to. And I wasn't even a ghost in that picture. I was just replaced, not violently, effortlessly, like a vow reversed, written in silence, sealed with absence. The knock came mid-afternoon. I was half-dressed, half-working, pacing the kitchen with a mug of stale coffee and a Post-it note stuck to my wrist. The delivery man didn't wait, just dropped the envelope at my door and walked off. No signature, no eye contact. It was thick, manila, creased at the corners like it had been handled more than once. My name printed clean across the front. No return address. I opened it with a steak knife. Inside, a title transfer, notarized, stamped binding. The property at 114 Lake Crest Avenue is hereby transferred solely to my name, my full legal name. My hands went cold. He gave me the house, no note, no message, just the official documents, 8 pages deep. Then a second folder, home inspection estimates dated 2 weeks ago. Roof repairs, $12,300. Plumbing corrosion. Probable. Mold risk in attic. Confirmed. The next stack. HOA letters. Violation notices I'd never seen before. Trash bins left out too long. Fence too tall. Sidewalk edges not trimmed to compliance. Small things, but they piled up. Fines pending. Warning of lien escalation. I flipped to the last page. Fine print. A single clause, effective immediately. All financial responsibility and ownership-related obligations, including repairs, fees, assessments, taxes, and accrued penalties, shall fall to the new sole title holder. Me. I sat down on the bottom stair and read it again. He didn't fight for the house. Didn't demand a buyout, didn't drag us through lawyers. He gave it to me, with everything that came with it. The overgrown yard I'd always said we'd fix together, the deck with the warped boards, the cracked grout in the upstairs shower, the leaky vent over the stove. I didn't get a home. I got to wait. He left me with the address, yes, the walls, the floor, the title, but not the value, not the clean start. He stripped out the meaning and left only the maintenance. I walked through the living room, slowly, seeing it differently now. The scuffed spot near the baseboard where his suitcase always sat, the couch we picked together that I kept meaning to replace, the dining room chair with the loose leg, all mine now. I looked out the back window toward the shed. His tools were gone. Only the rusted mower remained. He didn't forget anything. He edited, he transferred ownership like someone exiting a lease, precisely, legally, without discussion. And I realized something then. Standing in the house, I thought I'd won. I hadn't been gifted anything. I'd been released, cut loose from the life he no longer wanted, with the shell of it still clinging to me. And now it was mine to carry. The mortgage, the fines, the cracks, the silence. He walked away from the structure and made sure I owned every inch of the decay. It started with a folder I found on my desktop, one I didn't remember creating, labeled pending, no date, no notes inside, just a shortcut link. When I clicked, it asked for a password, one I didn't have. That's what pushed me to email his old colleague, Tim, the guy he used to mentor. I hadn't spoken to Tim since the Christmas party 2 years ago, but I needed to know something. Anything. Grant. I kept it short. He's not like this. He'd never just walk away. I don't understand what's happening. Hours passed. The silence made the walls feel closer. Then his reply came. One sentence. He didn't walk away. He walked ahead. You just never looked up. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. From something worse. I closed the laptop and stared at my reflection in the black screen. I tried to tell myself it wasn't true, that he was still processing, still in shock, still figuring things out. But the more I told myself that, the more I realized I was the only one circling the past. He'd already moved into the next version of his life, one that didn't include me. A week later, I got an invite from a client. Last-minute comp pass to a supply chain tech conference downtown. Normally I'd pass, but the firm on the roster caught my eye. Delaney and Associates, Keynote Infrastructure Resilience and Transition Protocols. It couldn't be. I dressed carefully, simple, professional. I needed to be ready in case it really was him. The venue was high-end, coastal, white marble entry, conference badges printed on thick plastic. I moved through the lobby trying to blend in. There was a breakout panel in the east wing, glass walls, small crowd, and then I saw him. Front of the room, confident, calm, no notes in his hand. He didn't need any. His voice carried without force, that same low steadiness I used to hear when he explained to me how systems fail when people ignore the details. Only now people listened. Someone laughed at a dry comment he made. Someone else took notes. The woman beside him leaned in when he spoke, like he was gravity. I waited until the panel ended, took a breath, started toward him. That's when the staffer stepped between us. Sorry, this area is for speakers and their guests only. I blinked. I just need a moment. Sorry, she said again, firmer. I looked past her, but he'd already moved into the speaker lounge, badge around his neck, no hesitation in his step. I didn't follow. Because I realized what Tim's message meant. It wasn't that I couldn't reach him. It was that I no longer had access to the rooms he walked in, to the people who listened when he spoke, to the calm he carried after cutting away the noise. He hadn't vanished. He'd just stopped inviting me to look. And now all I had was a screen, but he had the stage. The screen lit up before the sound even registered. 2:48 a.m. I was half asleep, curled on the far side of the bed I once shared with him. The sheets were cold where he used to sleep, but I hadn't changed sides. Not once. The number wasn't saved. Just a string of digits I didn't recognize. Late night again? My heart thudded once. Sharp. I sat up, phone clutched in both hands. The walls around me felt thinner than they had an hour ago. I stared at the message, waiting for more. Then it came. Need someone to walk you in? I dropped the phone. Literally dropped it. It hit the floor with a muffled slap. Screen face up, still glowing. I didn't answer, didn't breathe. The messages didn't come from Brandon. They weren't teasing. There was no emoji, no tone. Just words like a whisper in my ear from the dark hallway of my own memory. I picked the phone up, hands trembling, and tapped the thread. Gone. Not archived, not deleted. Gone. The number 2 no longer in service when I tried to call it. I backed up into the headboard, knees pulled tight, covers twisted around my ankles. Every light in the room was off, but I didn't dare move to the switch. I just sat there, frozen. Because it wasn't just a message, it was a mirror. It was that night, 3:11 a.m., and my heels clicking too loud on tile. The jacket that didn't belong to me, the man I swore was a colleague leaning just too close at the curb. I could still hear the dry chuckle I gave him when we hugged goodbye. The way I tiptoed into the house, certain I'd gotten away with it, that nobody saw, that the lie was clean, neat, folded away like laundry. But someone had seen, someone remembered. And now that image, frozen in time, in the camera footage, in the silence of the house he left behind, was alive again, sharp enough to bleed. I checked the doors, locked, the curtains, shut. But it wasn't about safety, it was about being known, exposed, not publicly, not loudly, precisely. I sat back down on the bed, wrapped my arms around myself, phone still clutched in one hand like a dead thing. I didn't know if he'd sent the message or if someone else had. I didn't know if it was real or automated or some sick joke, but it didn't matter because whoever sent it knew. They knew exactly when to send it, what to say, how long to wait before disappearing, and they knew it would work because in that moment I wasn't in control. I wasn't defending anything. I was remembering what it felt like to walk in at 3:11 a.m. and not notice the man who had already stopped being mine. The envelope was thick, expensive, ivory with embossed lettering. I thought it was a mistake at first, wrong address, wrong person, but when I opened it, the name was mine. Founders Forum, Legacy Roundtable, one guest pass, no context, no sender, just the time, place, and dress code. Formal. I stared at the gold crest stamped into the corner. I'd heard of the forum, invite only, old money, new power, the kind of room where handshakes move markets. Grant used to talk about it like a distant planet. We were never close enough to orbit it. Not then, but he was now. That was the only reason I could think of for the invite. I RSVP'd yes before I could talk myself out of it. The ballroom was at the top floor of a private venue I'd never been inside. Glass walls, museum lighting, violins warming up in the distance. People didn't talk loudly here. They murmured with intent. The woman at check-in smiled politely and handed me a small envelope. "This way," she said, guiding me with a gentle gesture. I followed the curve of the room toward the seats. Circular arrangement, no hierarchy, just subtle positioning. Center was power. Periphery was proximity. My place card sat at the edge of the inner circle. It didn't say my name, just observer. No title, no role, no affiliation, just presence. I stood there longer than I should have, card still in my hand. Then I sat, back straight, eyes forward. The chair felt colder than the rest. Across the room, a quiet voice floated over the microphone. "I'd like to introduce our keynote, Grant Delaney." I didn't turn, not right away. I knew the voice. I could hear the space in it now, more deliberate, more measured, like someone who'd stopped explaining and started being listened to. When I finally looked, he was 2 rows ahead. Perfect posture, no flash. His suit was darker than the others, but tailored sharper. The woman beside him leaned in to say something, his head turned, lips lifted faintly, then returned to the mic. He hadn't seen me, or maybe he had, but either way, I wasn't on the list. Just near it, the moderator welcomed advisors, founders, and contributing architects of transitional legacy systems. One by one, names were read out. Applause, head nods, recognition. Not mine, not even a glance. I clapped when others did, smiled when others smiled, but I wasn't in the room. Not really. I was seated at the border between relevance and memory. They passed around a slate gray leather packet filled with proposal drafts. Mine didn't have one. I wasn't expected to contribute, just observe, and that's when it hit me. He didn't block me from the room. He invited me close enough to feel the warmth, but not the fire. I wasn't excluded. I was demoted, quietly, strategically, and in public. I tried to hold my breath steady as he began speaking, clear, structured, effortless. And I knew, without him ever looking my way, that this version of him didn't need to turn around, because the open seat had already been claimed, and it wasn't mine. The lights dimmed and all heads turned forward. A hush settled over the room, not the manufactured kind, but real silence. The kind that follows when something's earned it. He stepped onto the stage with no paper, no teleprompter, just a calm breath, one hand in his pocket, the other resting briefly on the edge of the podium. He looked different under lights like that, not just confident, composed, untouchable in a way I hadn't seen before, not the man who used to fall asleep next to me with half-read books on his chest and stress in his jaw, not the man who always said, "I'll handle it," even when I knew he was drowning. This was someone else. Someone refined by fire I'd lit without realizing it. He waited a second before speaking. "Sometimes," he said, voice low but unshaken, "truth doesn't scream. You could hear the room leaning in. It doesn't need to. Sometimes it arrives at 3:11 a.m. and walks through your front door without saying a word." I froze. He paused. "That's when you learn," he continued. "Peace isn't staying. It's stepping out, quietly. No dramatic swell, no crescendo, just stillness. Then applause, not the kind people give out of politeness, the kind that starts slow, spreads like conviction. A few heads turned, scanning the room, connecting dots. I sat very still. My hands didn't move. He took a sip of water, answered 2 questions from the moderator, another from a woman 3 seats behind me about succession planning and transitional leadership roles. Then someone, a man in the front row, older, maybe a board member, smiled and raised a hand. "Grant," he said, friendly, easy, "is your wife here tonight?" The room went quiet again. Grant smiled. Not cold, not amused, just resolved. "I don't believe I brought a +1, he said. There was a laugh, a gentle one, from the audience. A ripple, not mocking, just reading the air. I didn't laugh. He didn't glance in my direction, never acknowledged me once. But every word had been wrapped in knowing, designed to echo back to a single frame, a single moment in time when everything changed. 3:11 a.m. And now, he stood beneath warm lights, calm as ever, while I sat in a seat that didn't bear my name, wearing a dress I'd chosen in the dark, telling myself I still mattered. But I didn't, because the real statement wasn't his answer. It was the absence beside him. I waited by the side entrance, not the main one. He always preferred quiet exits. I stood just outside the glow of the awning, arms crossed tight against the chill. People passed me in clusters, murmuring about the panel, the clarity of his talk, the elegance of his phrasing. I didn't hear any of it. I only heard my heartbeat in my throat. The door opened again, and there he was, alone. No woman at his side, no fanfare, just him, coat folded over one arm, eyes scanning the parking lot like he already knew I'd be here. He saw me but didn't stop walking. I stepped forward. "Grant." He didn't flinch, didn't sigh. He just stood still, a calm figure under streetlight. I said it quietly because anything louder would have broken me. "I messed up," I whispered. That night, I wasn't thinking. He looked at me, not with anger, not even hurt, just distance. "I was," he said. "That's the difference." My eyes burned. I stepped closer, reached for his hand without thinking. He stepped back, one small, precise movement. That was enough. He didn't pull away. He didn't need to. I dropped my hand. He adjusted the strap of his bag. "Everything's in your name now," he said. "The house, the title, the debt." His eyes didn't soften. They didn't harden either. "Except the silence, kid," he added. "That's mine." And with that, he turned, walked to his car without a backward glance, no slammed doors, no dramatic pause. He got in, started the engine. I watched the taillights fade into the line of traffic beyond the lot. No window rolled down, no second thoughts. Just a clean, final exit. And behind me, nothing. No protest, no second chance. Only the sound of my heels on cold concrete as I stood where I'd been left, holding every word I never got to say, and knowing without question that he would never let me follow.